Good morning. This is Megan Herbst with the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District with your conservation report for Saturday, August 8th. This morning, I want to discuss a couple of timely topics with you all. The first one being the University of Minnesota Extension's Nitrogen Smart program. The Nitrogen Smart program is now available as an interactive online course featuring short videos and quick quizzes to test your knowledge. The online course will give you the tools you need to calculate an efficient, profitable nitrogen rate for your farm and tailor management practices to your region, soil type, and other conditions. As you may recall, Nitrogen Smart is better known for its in-person meetings around the state each winter. Obviously, with everything going on in the world today, they have decided to move that into an online forum. And the online course, again, is free. It takes about 3 hours to complete, but you can easily pause the session and then come back and complete it at another time if that works for you too. The educational program does aim to help farmers improve their bottom line while also helping meet Minnesota environmental objectives on water quality, and participants will develop a deeper understanding of nitrogen and how it behaves in the environment. During the free course, you'll learn more about the nitrogen cycle, nitrogen fertilizer sources, nitrogen best management practices, fertilizer nitrogen rate recommendations and the MRTN guidelines, region and crop specific recommendations, and emerging nutrient management technologies. And one of the messages that is stressed is that while rate recommendations and the application of best management practices are applicable under a wide range of situations, they're just a starting place for which many variations may be necessary, especially depending on soil type, weather conditions, and other factors. The key to making appropriate adjustments is to maximize profitability while minimizing loss to the environment, especially understanding the nitrogen cycle and where and when adjustments to fertilizer applications are warranted. Thank you to the generous support of the Minnesota Corn Growers Association. The Nitrogen Smart course is available at no cost to you. You can find this course simply by Googling Nitrogen Smart University of Minnesota Extension, and there are a host of other resources available there too. The second story I want to discuss this morning is weed control in soybean fields in August, and this also comes to us from the University of Minnesota Extension. This is the time of year that we evaluate our soybean fields for a number of pests, including weed escapes, and oftentimes by early August, escaped water hemp, giant ragweed, and other weeds have creeped above the canopy. And then frustration can set in, and there's the temptation to spray something. But just say no, as they say. August, when it comes to using herbicides to target weed escapes, spraying is not ideal. Your August weed control plan should include walking, hoeing, mapping, and mowing, and that's it. The only spraying that should be considered is in road ditches and along fence lines, waterways, and field edges that you can't easily mow. And be sure to spray with care, follow the herbicide labels, and note sensitive crops and plants that may be nearby as well. The goal in hand pulling and walking rows is to reduce the weed seed production. So if escaped weeds are allowed to produce seed, then they have the potential to stick around for decades. And giant ragweed does not produce viable seed until the end of August. And so hoeing out patches now is very effective at preventing seed production. Preventing seed production will dramatically decrease the weed seed bank, and in just 2 years, over 95% of giant ragweed seeds can be degraded from the weed seed bank if seed production is prevented. Water hemp can be a bit more challenging because it produces viable seeds soon after it starts to flower, which can be by early August in some cases. However, reducing weed seed production is still a good goal to strive for, and fortunately for water hemp, 90% of the viable seeds will be degraded within 4 years. Investigating weed escapes is also cheap insurance for preventing Palmer amaranth from getting established on your farm. If you find a pigweed that doesn't look quite right, check out the online resources for how to identify Palmer amaranth and the amaranth family identification, simply just by Googling Palmer amaranth, University of Minnesota. And this is, your best weed control plan from now until harvest. Walk your fields and hoe or pull out what you can. Map the areas that need more attention for next year. Mow as much of the weedy areas as you can to prevent seed, and also to keep the combine from spreading more seed throughout your fields, even if it costs you a few bushels. And then think about your weed management plan for next year and what, which weeds escaped this year and are they resistant to herbicide use as well. And then also keep a lookout for Palmer amaranth. Lastly, I just want to discuss a project that the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District has been working on in partnership with the Discovery Farms Minnesota for the past 3 years. In 2017, the University of Wisconsin Discovery Farms and the Discovery Farms Minnesota began monitoring tile drainage systems in northeastern Wisconsin and Minnesota as part of a conservation innovation grant awarded by the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And the goal of the project was to understand how farming practices and management systems influence tile water quality. So what we're doing is we're monitoring flow rates and then also collecting water samples to analyze nutrient and soil concentrations. And in Stearns County, we're monitoring 6 different sites at 3 different levels of monitoring. There are 3 basic sites that have biweekly flow measurement as well as a water sample taken at the tile outlets. And then there are 2 intermediate sites that are continuously monitored with these level loggers that are placed inside of an acre drain structure. And their samples are taken twice a month as well there. And then we have 1 intensive site that has 24/7 monitoring equipment installed where it can continuously measure flow and then automatically takes water samples. So every 2 weeks, all of the sites are visited and then we measure flow and take a water sample. The samples are then submitted to MVTL laboratories in New Ulm for nitrate and nitrite nitrogen, total phosphorus, soluble orthophosphorus, and total suspended solids. And then notes are also taken at the site about each visit. And the level loggers are downloaded as well. And then site maintenance is done as necessary. Sampling for the tile monitoring project will conclude at the end of the 2020 water year, which is October 1st would be the beginning of the next water year. So we're almost done monitoring out there. And then the next steps will be to analyze the final results and then write a final report of those 3 years of monitoring data. And that's about it for me. So if you have any questions about any of the topics I covered today, or if you're interested in implementing conservation practices on your property, please feel free to contact the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District at 320-251-7800 extension 3. Thank you very much and have a wonderful weekend. This has been Megan Herbst with your Conservation Report.